Welcome back to the JSFL. After week 2 action, we got some good games coming up this week, and we got some good games last week. Let's get right into it. The recap of last week, we had, hold on a second. Thursday night, we had Musicians at Fishers. Musicians and Fishers were doing pretty good. Old game going back and forth, but the fourth quarter is when Musicians pulled ahead and they won. It was a good game, but Musicians pull out and have a good game on that one. So it was good. Musicians win. Then you had the Sunday night game or Sunday games. You had the Power at the Hounds, where the Power just dominated the Hounds all day, putting the Power higher up in the rankings, and the Hounds, who I thought were going to be good, a little lower down. But you got a lot of weeks to go, so not too bad for Cincinnati. Then you had the Natives at Earthquake, where the Natives, second straight game with no touchdowns allowed, as they contained Kerry Foster and Jacob Kidd, who had some snaps this game. That was pretty good from him. He did all right, but no points. And the Earthquakes defense actually was able to contain Kermit Poe in the offense, only held him to 13. So they've held Detroit and Seattle to some pretty low scores. So I think we might see something out of LA's defense this year. That was that game, 13-6. Predators at Wind, 24-14. Predators win. Wind, after competing with Musicians, go down to lose to Atlanta, which was weird, as Atlanta got pretty badly beat by the Fishers, who lost to Musicians. So don't know what's happening with the win there, but Predators get a good win. Gila Monsters at Bats. Gila Monsters destroy Charlotte. Oh my god, I thought Charlotte was doing good this year. No, Gila Monsters, the champions, show what they do best. Then you had the Wind at Natives. The Wind get a pretty good win, or not win. Wait, no, that's next week. I was confused for a second. Businessmen at Earthquake for Sunday night. Businessmen only got one touchdown, that was kick return, but they did contain the defense or offense of Warren Jones a bit, but they ran all over them through a bit. But yeah, no touchdowns for that New York offense yet, so they're not doing that great right now, and the Enforcers are just able to walk over them in their home stadium. So that's a good win for them. With that being said, we're going to go into the power ranking. So number 12, I have ranked the 0-2 New York Businessmen. Two tough losses to two pretty decent teams. You got Seattle and Houston, but no offense scored points yet for them. So it's not really looking good. I have them at number 12. Not just great. Henry Gurnett hasn't done much of anything. Green's been alright. So their stats actually for the team. So if you look at Gurnett, he's got 30 for 44, 213 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick. He hasn't done much of anything. He has got 3 carries on the ground for 18 yards. Hasn't been terrible, but like 106 yards per game is not going to get you very far. Eugene Green, 17 attempts, 86 yards, and a broken tackle, no touchdowns. And that's 2 games, so they don't give it to him that much. That's because the offense doesn't see the ball that much. They don't have time to get the ball. They don't have time to move it downfield. It's 3 and out, 3 and out. And we'll see what they go against the lesser defense, because Houston and Seattle are pretty good. But we'll see how they do for the rest of the season. Receiving, Johnson's been their leading receiver's been Thomas Wagner, 6 catches, 63 yards. Defensively, they've done all right. I mean, not much. Eddie Sparks been pretty good. 10 tackles, 8 assists, 2 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. That's expected from Eddie Spark. Now Wagner, 3 tackles, 17 assists. He's been all over the field, just helping out. Not an interception that I see, but yeah. So that's 12th. I have ranked the New York Businessmen. 11th, I have, after fighting against Phoenix for a while, I have the Cincinnati Hounds. Getting destroyed by the Detroit Power. Let's look at them. Kendall Hastings, not too great of a game. And he just wasn't able to do what they needed to against Detroit after playing a pretty good game against Phoenix. So yeah, here we go. Cincinnati. Hastings, 33 for 51, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He had 14 touchdowns, 14 picks last year. So kind of not taking the next step, but he does take a step on the ground a lot more. 9 carries, 100 yards, and a broken tackle. I mean, that's pretty good. So it's good that he's running it, but just needs to improve on the passing game for this team to go far. Running, Jog has 26 carries for 133 yards. Also 4 catches for 28 yards, a touchdown, and 4 broken tackles. So he's all right. Maybe need to give it to him more because he's averaging 13 attempts so far. Like a little over 50 yards. Bowden's been their leading receiver with Josh Bowden with 7 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown. So he's been pretty good for them. Or actually, Larson has been, where in receptions he's been, because he has 10 catches, 98 yards. But in yards, it's Bowden. On the defense, the player that probably stands out to me the most right now, Carter's good. Ricardo Sanchez, 11 solo tackles, 6 assists, 1 tackle for loss, and a sack. The rookie safety has been really good right now for Cincinnati. And him and Saunders looking like they could be good safeties for a while. So that's good for Cincinnati, but they still struggle in games, and they just need to get better, because it's a tough league, and you got to do really good to make the playoffs here. So here we go. Number 10, you got the Kansas City Wind. Sticking with New Orleans in that Week 1 game, but just not losing to probably average team in the Atlanta Predators. They play good sometimes, but lost to Minneapolis Week 1. I don't know if that's a fluke game, but still early in the season here. We have to see. But right now, I have the Kansas City Wind ranked at number 10. If we look at the team, you got Chad Harrison, rookie quarterback, 50 for 63, 533 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So he's pretty good for a rookie. They give it to him a lot, though. That's because it's a passing offense. Willie Rogers, they give it to him about 15 times a game, 31 attempts, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 broken tackles, 6 catches, and 25 yards as well. Their leading receiver, guess who? Eric Fitzgerald, 11 catches, 148 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's been both of Harrison's end zone targets. And yeah, it's pretty good for the offensive side for Kansas City. Maybe just need to get that run game going a little bit more, because Rodgers has been struggling a bit. On the defense, someone that stands out to me is probably going to be, I don't know, no one's really stood out to me. Got people like, looking at the team, it's probably Ian Petty. 5 solo tackles, 4 assists, 2 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and a fumble. I mean, he's got some pressure in the second-year defensive tackle, first rounder. He's doing pretty good. So Kansas City just needs to be more consistent, and there's plenty of weeks to do that. And just week 2, so plenty of time to change these power rankings up. Number 12 could be number 1. I don't think so, but 11 could be in the top 5. Who knows? Okay. But number 9 got Atlanta, beating Kansas City, but also losing to Minneapolis in that Week 1 game. A lot of time to switch stuff up, but here is Atlanta's team. Trent Hudson, 38 for 48, 433 yards, a touchdown, and 0 picks, so pretty good for Hudson this season. Also ran on the ground 8 times for 52 yards, a touchdown, and a broken tackle. So Hudson is doing pretty good in year 2. I mean, he's doing pretty good for Atlanta. Rocker, 21 carries for 56 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a broken tackle. So he is the end zone threat for this team. Just averaging a little over 10 yards, and not averaging over 10 yards. Averaging 10 carries per game, and about 25 looks like. So not really running it effectively, but looks like he gets into the end zone a bit. Huffman's also got 12 carries, 43 yards. I think Rocker was injured for a little bit during the game. So wide receivers now, you got, their number 1 seems to be Colin Franklin. He's got 8 catches, 85 yards. As they moved him in the slot this year because he's getting older, and they just think they have a better matchup with him in the slot. Seems to be working all right. On the defense, the person that stands out to me has got to be Toby Trent, second-year linebacker. 8 solo tackles, 15 assists, and 3 tackles for loss. Just a stud linebacker. Looks to be the face of an Atlanta defense if he continues to stay with them. It's a contract year for Trent. And that is Atlanta. Just need to see if they can be more consistent, just like Kansas City. Number 8, I have the Houston Enforcers beating New York after losing a really crappy game to, or not, that was a really good game, my bad. After losing a good game against the Charlotte Bats, they come to New York and beat New York, not letting them get a single touchdown besides a kick return. So let's look at Houston's team so far this season. You got Warren Jones, 37 for 53, 375 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. So an alright season throwing in the air for Warren Jones. Hasn't been too great, not too bad. Running, he's got 13 carries, 127 yards, and 3 broken tackles. Been pretty good for them. Alfred Norris running on the ground, 30 carries, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a broken tackle, averaging about 15 carries a game, and almost 100 yards per game. So that's pretty good for Alfred Norris. Tight end is not too effective. Receiving the ball, their number one guy looks to be Tracy Davis, 5 catches, 77 yards. So I haven't thrown it too much because Alfred Norris has been able to run all over teams. That's good for them. Well, actually, the best receiver is Danny Edwards, 13 catches, 188 yards. That's a lot for the tight end. Second year stud tight end for Houston. Defense, their number one guy. Ooh, I did not know he was doing that great. Oh, so is he. I might have to give it 2 people that impressed me so far. Yeah, 2 people. Eric Prostate, he gets way more. Or not Eric Prostate, my bad. Allen Clemens. Allen Clemens, 14 solo tackles, 5 assists, 4 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, and a fumble. He's been a great guy on the field for those linebackers and doing a lot for this Houston defense. Also, I didn't know, honorable mention here, Sean Dez, 6 tackles, 2 assists, 2 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, and a fumble. Sean Dez, that DT, that nose tackle, a great force for the Houston defense right now. Let's see. Now we go back to the power rankings. Number 7, right? Charlotte Bats, after beating a good game against Houston, they go and they get their butts whooped by the Gila Monsters. Consistency. We don't know if Houston's a good team right now. We don't know. We don't know if a lot of these teams are good right now. We need more weeks to clear some of this up. And we'll have to see. But right now, they're going to be ranked at number 7. Let's look at the team. Edward Phillips, 30 for 44, 372 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. 1 carry for 4 yards. Not too great for Phillips after that good game against Houston. They actually subbed him out for Jerome Allen halfway through. He threw for 11 for 20, 98 yards, 0 touchdowns, and a pick. So, quarterbacks aren't looking too great for Charlotte right now. Let's see how they can go through. Running back Joey Adams, 33 attempts, 121 yards, 5 broken tackles, averaging about 16 carries per game, and seems to be 60 yards. So not too great for Adams, but it's all right. The receiver seems to be, honestly, it's both of them. Sammy Cornelius and Tyler Jackson. Cornelius, more receptions. Jackson, 1 more yard. So Cornelius, 12 catches, 151 yards. Jackson, 9 catches, 152 yards, and a touchdown. So both receivers doing really good right now for Edward Phillips, and he got some good targets to throw to. And yes, Edward Phillips is the starter for next week. It's not Jerome Allen. They didn't like him too much in that game against Phoenix. Defense, the player that stands out to me, yeah, it's got to be Henry Virgin. Zachary Wong's doing good for what he's doing. But Henry Virgin, 8 tackles, 14 assists, 5 tackles for loss. Just like a little better than Zachary Wong in every category. And yeah, he's doing pretty good right now for this team. And Henry Virgin continues to be the face of the Charlotte defense. Also, Darius Simp has 11 solo tackles, 10 assists, 2 sacks, and a touchdown. So that's good for him. And that is Charlotte at number 7. Number 6, you have Minneapolis after beating Atlanta pretty good in week 1. They lose pretty badly to New Orleans week 2. But they did put up a fight for a while, so I'll give them some credit, but they collapsed at the end. So we go to Minneapolis. Alright, here we go. Tony Jefferson, 40 for 51, 359 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He's making a real run for the MVP kind of race here. No picks, and he's got some good passer rating, so it's like 80% almost. Almost 400 yards, and he's got 6 carries, 35 yards, and a broken tackle on the ground. So, Jackson being pretty good right now. 37 attempts, 162 yards for Ronaldo Hoskins. He also has 2 touchdowns and a broken tackle. What's that going to be? It's like 18 carries per game and about 80 yards. That's all right for a running back. That's pretty good. He's all right. Then you got their leading receiver is Wilbur Lamb. That's nothing new. Wilbur Lamb, 6 catches, 104 yards. He doesn't lead in catches, but he does lead in yardage. The people leading in catches is Nestor Hood and Lowell Snyder. Lowell Snyder, 86 yards. Hood, 70 yards, a touchdown apiece. Defense, who stands out to me, is Aguilar. 18 solo tackles, 11 assists, 5 tackles for loss, and a sack. He's been all over the field for Minneapolis. He's been a great linebacker. And a lot of these linebackers really doing good this season. That just stands out for me for that Minneapolis team. Number 5, I've got the Detroit Power. After powering down the Cincinnati Hounds, they lost to LA week 1, but they powered down Cincinnati this week. Doing pretty good. LA seems to have a good defense, and it was week 1 and new pieces on the field. But now they show to a team I thought was decent in Cincinnati. They showed up to them and destroy them. So they move up the power rankings quite a bit. So number 5, Detroit, let's look at them. Sean Richardson, 40 for 48. 441 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. So okay season for Richardson. Not a huge hot start, but all right. 18 carries on the ground, 95 yards, a touchdown, and a broken tackle. So he is taking off a lot this season for Detroit. Winford Peters also got in as they're blowing out Minneapolis. He went 2 for 3, 5 yards, and a touchdown. So he did pretty good. Little, 28 carries, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 5 broken tackles. Averaging 14 attempts per game and 91 yards while doing that. So really good right now for Taylor Little. That's pretty good. Steve Watts also 2 attempts for 20 yards, so he's doing good. And Emmanuel Miller even got some carries. 5 carries, 32 yards. Hugh Brooks, their leading receiver. 10 catches, 148 yards. But you also got to look at Hector McDaniel. 8 catches, 54 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's caught every single touchdown from the quarterbacks this season. As we look at the defense, the guy that stands out to me is David Medina. 2 years ago, was Defensive Player of the Year. David Medina, 14 solo tackles, 12 assists, 2 tackles for loss, and an interception. He's been doing good for Detroit as usual. Nothing surprising there. And now we go to our number 14, in which I have ranked the LA Earthquake. After containing both the Detroit and Seattle offense, I'm pretty impressed with them. The offense could do better, as did get no touchdowns against Seattle, but it's all right. And that gets them enough to be number 4 for now, the best 1-1 team, in my opinion. Let's look at them. I bet you can already guess the defensive player. So LA. Phoenix and LA. Foster, 24 for 27, been elite in pass percentage, which he struggled with last year. 285 yards, 0 touchdowns thrown, but he does have 1 interception in week 1. Jacob Kidd also went 6 for 9, 96 yards. A little swap there. 2 attempts and 22 yards. But yeah, Foster been doing really good. And yeah, I don't anything to complain with the quarterbacks. And Jacob Kidd, if Foster decides to leave, could be pretty good. Ross Williams, 38 carries, 163 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 6 broken tackles. Averaging, 14 carries per game? Right? No, it's 15. 19 carries per game, and averaging, 81 yards. I think it's 81 yards, yeah. 81.5 if you want to be exact. But 81 off 19 carries. It's pretty decent for Ross Williams. Wide receivers, their best one performing right now is Albert Moore. 7 catches, 144 yards. Your leading receiver in the league last year. Could do it again. He's doing pretty good so far. And obviously the best defensive player on this team, it's not even close. It's Roland Lemus. 15 solo tackles, 5 assists, 3 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and a fumble. All through 2 weeks. Guy is always going to be good. He might get defensive player of the year again. He's just dominant. But I do want to give a shout out to Kane Hollister. 18 tackles, 11 assists, 3 tackles for loss, and an interception. The second-year linebacker. He's done pretty well. Number 3. Now we go to our 2-0 teams. The number 1, 2, and 3 are all interchangeable. They're all really good teams. This is how I have them ranked. Number 3, I have the New Orleans Musicians. Okay, so New Orleans, week 2, they destroyed Minneapolis in the fourth quarter, but they did keep it close with Minneapolis for pretty much a lot through the game. And in week 1, who'd they face again? They faced the Wind, who they kept it close with. So they did keep it close to some of their competition. That's why I probably have them ranked here. But yeah, the Musicians are still a good team. Don't get me wrong. They'll definitely make playoffs again, probably. Let's look at him. Seth Skies, 44 for 54, 545 yards, so he's been slinging it. 4 touchdowns and only 1 pick, so not bad. 1 attempt on the ground, 81 yards. He doesn't run the ball. Owen Castles, 33 catches. Whoa. 33 attempts, 143 yards, a touchdown, and 3 broken tackles. That's 16 attempts per game and 71 yards. Pretty good. Receiving, Landon Dante. He's been really good this season. 14 catches, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also, Carl Graves, 8 catches, 155 yards, and a touchdown. So those two have been elite. Defensively, the player that probably stands out to me the most right now is Chris Johnson. 6 tackles, 11 assists, 2 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks. Man, getting after the quarterback and doing a lot for that New Orleans pass rush. But yeah, Lamar Campbell, the rookie, also got a sack last week. But yeah, that's for New Orleans. Number 2, I have got... It's a good one. Phoenix. Number 2, I do have Seattle number 1. But Phoenix, let's talk about them first. You keep it close with Cincinnati, who's number 11 on the list, and then you go and dominate a team that I thought was good in Charlotte. So I do respect you for that. But I have Seattle above you. But you do really good. In a couple weeks, you could definitely take number 1 from Seattle. Maybe even next week. Who knows? But here you go. Brian Tepps, 31 for 38, 286 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 pick. He's been throwing it pretty good this season. 12 carries on the ground, 179 yards, and a broken tackle. He's just been Brian Tepps. Brian Tepps being Brian Tepps. It's how they got 2 championships in a row. And it's probably how they're going to try to get a third. Julio Jones, 33 attempts on the ground, 138 yards, and 12 broken tackles. Also getting 10 receptions, 71 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. Julio Jones being Julio Jones, and that's why that Phoenix offense runs the way it does. The receivers are alright. Their leading one being Trevor Washington, second-year, 7th-round pick. 6 catches, 68 yards. And yeah, you just look at the quarterback and running back. They make that team. They make that offense. Defensively, the person that stuck out to me so far, yeah, I'm going to go with him. Jordan Jackson. 14 tackles, 14 solo tackles, 12 assists, 4 tackles for loss and 1.5 sacks. He's great. Yeah, he's just a great player, and he signed that extension with Phoenix last year. Good move. Good move. Number 1, that being Seattle. They destroyed New York, like, what was that, 31-3? Or 28-3, one of the two. And then they go into LA, shut out a good offense, and then, well, not shut out, but keep them to, what was it, 13-6, because they didn't get a touchdown. They had 2 field goals. And then they do get contained a bit, but they still beat them. And that Seattle just hasn't had any bad moments. They had Hernandez out till week 8, so that's a big injury, but that's been... They've done this without Stephen Hernandez, their second best linebacker besides Ronaldo Smith. Kermit Poe has been 42 for 56, 454 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. He's also had 10 carries on the ground for 63 yards. Kermit Poe doing Kermit Poe things. And he's been pretty good. Colton Yu, 44 carries, 193 yards, a touchdown, and 3 broken tackles. He's been averaging 22 carries per game. And seems to be... What would it be like? I have to think about that for a second. 96 yards? 96 yards? I think that's 96 yards. 22 carries, 96 yards. That's pretty good numbers for a running back. You would hope with 20 carries to get over 100 yards, but it's alright. Receiving, his number 1 threat has been Dallas Crawford, 9 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown. But Vincent Morgan, the tight end rookie, has been doing really good. 13 catches, 118 yards, and a touchdown. But yeah, this offense has been electric for the most part so far. And defensively, I might just have to give it to honorable mention to Ronaldo Smith, but Kendall Carl, 7 tackles, 7 solo tackles, 6 assists, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, and a fumble. So, good play by Kendall Carl so far, the second-year corner. Yeah, that's my power rankings for week 2. Now you go to the playoff picture. The East is Charlotte Bats. The South is the New Orleans Musicians. The West is the Seattle Natives. The North is the Detroit Power. 5th seed, the Gila Monsters. 6th seed, the Earthquake. Minneapolis Fishers and Charlotte Bats are in the hunt. Offense and defense player of the week. Offensive player of the week for week 2 is Hector McDaniel. 8 catches, 54 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the week. It was a good week from him. He put up 43 points for those fantasy owners in JSFL fantasy, which is a lot. It's huge. It's like, for normal tight ends, that's like a fifth of their season. So it's a lot. I think. That'd be around. Depends who you are. Elijah Costley wins Defensive Player of the Week from Phoenix. 2 solo tackles, 4 assists, 2 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. So a great week from Elijah Costley. He put up 64 points, which is a lot of corner seasonal stats. So, because touchdowns are worth a lot, by the way. So yeah, it's your defense and offense defense player of the week. MVP race. Number 10, Alfred Norris. Number 9, Roland Lemus. Number 8, Sean Richardson. Number 7, Tony Dackerson. Number 6, Ross Williams. Number 5, Seth Skies. Number 4, Elijah Costley. I told you, it's a lot of points for defensive touchdowns. 3, Kermit Poe. 2, Julio Jokes, and 1, Brian Tepps. The 1 and 2 guys are both from the same team, same offense. That's tell you how good this Phoenix offense has been through the first 2 weeks. So they might both finish inside the top 10 for MVP race with how they're doing right now. Maybe even top 5. Brian Tepps still trying to look for his MVP because he's got shut out by Richardson, or not Richardson. Who won MVP week year 1? Oh, it's Taylor Little. Yeah, Little won MVP. And then you had Kermit Poe last year. So yeah, good week. And let's get into the schedule. So week 3 schedule and predictions. Let's do it. Okay, week 3, Thursday Night Football. We got the Predators at the Bats. It's a good one. Predators coming off a win against Kansas City. Bats coming off a huge loss against Phoenix. I don't know if the Bats are for real. Give me the Predators. I know I'm a Predators fan, whatever. I play on the Predators. But give me the Predators. I think we can beat the Bats. They did have a fluke game. Maybe they had a fluke game continuing with Houston. And Predators just beat a decent team, what I think might be good this year, Kansas City. We'll have to see. I think the Predators win. Give me the Predators. Then you got your Sunday games. Power at Fishers. Ooh. Fishers have been... Tony Jackson's been good this year. Fishers' defense has been alright. It is Taylor Little and Sean Richardson. Give me the Power, but I think it's a close game. Businessmen at Earthquake. Earthquake. I think the defense has been good from Earthquake. The Businessmen offense just not going to be able to get going. I don't think they might not even score another touchdown. Let's see. But give me the Earthquake by a pretty good margin. Enforcers at Hounds. Ooh, this is a good one. Enforcers beating New York. Hounds coming off of a huge loss. Give me a Hounds upset win. At home, they're at home. And I think they do enough to beat the Enforcers. I think the Hounds are a good team this year. I still have them being good. Musicians at Gila Monsters for your last Sunday afternoon game. This is a good team. 2-0 teams. One's got to go down. Give me the Gila Monsters. Brian Tepps is just too electric to lose, man. I think Brian Tepps is going to win it. But it's a good battle. I think Tepps, guys, being the veteran, he'll make it close, but I think he just makes one too many mistakes. Then your Monday night, or your Sunday night game, you got, or it says Monday night. Yeah, Monday night. Your Monday night game, you got the Windham Musicians, or the Windham Natives, my bad. Natives, yeah, they've been suffocating on defense. Not a single touchdown yet. Might do it another week, but they do like to throw it a lot, so we'll have to see. It's a good game, maybe, for a little bit, but I think the Natives will win decently convincingly. And that's my week 3 predictions. Yeah. It was a good week of JSFL football. I am your commentator, player, and commissioner, Josh Rexall, and I'll see you guys Thursday night.